So we obviously know about Tom Brady and the Buccaneers winning Super Bowl 55. And I had a lot of takeaways from that game. I've obviously expressed all those takeaways with you guys throughout the show. But a takeaway that I have that is sort of unpopular probably in most people's eyes is a takeaway that I want to share with you guys. And here's the thing. Look, I was a big-time Jameis Winston fan when he was coming out of Florida State in 2015. I saw a guy with a big, strong arm that won a lot of big games, only lost one game in college. He won a national championship. He seemed to have the charisma, the size, the arm strength to be a legitimate great franchise quarterback one day. I was a big believer in Jameis Winston about 5 or 6 years ago. But ever since Jameis Winston's entered the NFL, I've watched him play over the years. He's not progressed. He's continued to be an inconsistent quarterback. And the harsh reality is this. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning Super Bowl 55 with Tom Brady under center, to me personally, whether people want to admit it or not, it's a huge indictment on Jameis Winston. Because here's the thing, people. Jameis Winston was given 5 years in Tampa Bay to prove to the organization that he was a franchise quarterback. And he didn't get it done. He had one winning season in 5 years in Tampa Bay, and he was unable to prove that he was a franchise quarterback. If he was a legitimate franchise quarterback, I guarantee you the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would have re-signed him. You want to know why? Because they drafted the guy number 1 overall. If you draft a guy number 1 overall, you want that guy to pan out, okay? And we saw 5 years of highlight reels, but we also saw 5 years of terrible interceptions, bad turnovers, hit and miss accuracy, and Jameis Winston was way too inconsistent, and everyone made so many excuses for Jameis Winston. They said, it's the offensive line, it's the receivers, it's the defense, it's the coaching, and here's the reality, people. Tom Brady just won the Super Bowl with the roster that Jameis Winston, for the most part, struggled with, okay? Tom Brady just won a Super Bowl with a lot of the same pieces that Jameis Winston underachieved with. Now, I understand the organization went out, they drafted Tristan Wirfs, they drafted Antoine Winfield, they acquired Rob Gronkowski, they acquired Antonio Brown. I get all that. It's not the exact same team. This team is an upgraded version of what was presented on the field last year. But when you look at what Jameis Winston had in Tampa Bay, he still had Mike Evans, one of the best wide receivers in all of football. You still had Chris Godwin, one of the best wide receivers in all of football. You still had O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate as your tight ends. You still had Ronald Jones. And every single player except Antoine Winfield was on that defense for Jameis Winston last year that was on the defense for Tom Brady this year, okay? And Bruce Arians was also there last year. So the excuse is that, Jameis Winston was in his first year with a new system. That's why he threw 30 interceptions. No. Folks, can we stop the excuses? Keep this in mind. Last year, in the 2019 NFL season, Jameis Winston threw 30 interceptions, and that doesn't even count the fumbles. That doesn't even count the missed throws that were easy completions that he missed. That doesn't even count the amount of times he held to the football way too long and took unnecessary sacks. I watched every single game that Jameis Winston played in his final season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because I worked on a film analysis episode that I dropped last year in the offseason. You guys can check that out. I'll probably put that link in the description of this segment, okay, or episode, whichever the two that I'm dropping at the moment. But here's the thing, people. Jameis Winston was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' biggest problem a year ago. That defense was still very good a year ago, okay? Todd Bowles was still there, okay? A lot of those same weapons were still there. But Jameis Winston couldn't even win 8 games with a stacked roster full of star wide receivers, a decent running back in Ronald Jones, a good head coach in Bruce Arians, and a stacked defense by his side. So this is the ultimate indictment on Jameis Winston. And I'm not trying to tear down Jameis Winston and say that he can't turn his career around in New Orleans. All I'm saying is, for those of you that are betting on Jameis Winston to turn his career around with the New Orleans Saints, what evidence are you banking on other than the fact that he's going to know the system pretty well because he's had about a year to sit and learn, behind Drew Brees and get Sean Payton's tutelage? That's about the only thing that you can probably think of to realistically say that Jameis Winston is going to be a great quarterback in New Orleans, okay? Just because Sean Payton's a great play caller, just because he's going to have a lot of good players around him, does not automatically mean that Jameis Winston is going to execute that offense at a high level and prove that he's a franchise quarterback. And listen, I'm rooting for Jameis Winston, and I'm hoping he succeeds, but I'm just not a big-time believer anymore. I'm not, and I think due to the fact that Jameis Winston left the building and really all the Buccaneers added was a couple of pieces in the draft and then Tom Brady. And I know Tom Brady's Tom Brady, but Tom Brady's 43 years old, people. And Jameis Winston was the number 1 overall pick from the 2015 NFL draft. He should be better than this. He should have been able to win a lot of games in Tampa Bay. And he underachieved because he's just too inconsistent of a quarterback. The bottom line to me is this. Sadly, I just think Jameis Winston is way too inconsistent of a quarterback to become a long-term franchise quarterback. That doesn't mean that he can't have a successful NFL career, because he could bounce around and be a stopgap starter potentially down the road. And look, I'm hoping Jameis Winston develops into becoming a long-term franchise quarterback in New Orleans. But all I'm saying is, for those of you that are assuming that just because he's in a New Orleans Saints uniform, just because you're assuming that he has a change of scenery, I wouldn't put all of your chips in the bag to say that's going to 100% turn around Jameis Winston's career. I hope I'm wrong, but ultimately, I got to say, Tom Brady winning Super Bowl 55 in place of Jameis Winston as the quarterback, I think is the ultimate indictment on Jameis Winston. I don't think this really should be a hot take. I hope Jameis Winston succeeds, but it's a coin flip to me at this point. He's definitely talented enough to succeed, but we'll see if he can put it all together. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.